everybody. This is Deanna Minnick. Welcome to the Detox Summit. Today, we have a very special, treasured guest. Her name is Char Sundust. Char Sundust is a teacher, healer, and inspirational speaker. She's deeply committed to the sustainability of nature and attending to the Earth's well-being. And in so doing, she supports individuals in achieving their destinies through spiritual practice and personal accountability. She acts as a bridge of many cultural wisdoms that are accessible to us at this time and helps individuals in creating tangible, positive change in their internal and external environment. As all healing begins with the soul, Char has built a healing practice integrating spirituality into past and present forms of healing modalities. And I would even say future in there as well. She really cuts across all time. So
generous. So generous.
Oh, well, welcome, Char, to the Detox Summit.
Thank you so much, Deanna. Thank you.
It's an honor. It's for those of you who don't know, I actually studied with Char some years ago, and it was unforgettable. She has taught me so many things from her tradition, and they're incredibly life-changing. And so I wanted to bring her on as part of this summit to talk with us about her journey, her tools, and to shed some light on toxicity.
Thank you very much, Deanna.
So, Char, maybe we start by first having you tell everybody about your background rather than just listening to me reading your bio. There's so much more here, and I know that you can shine a light on some things that are relevant for our listeners.
Wonderful. And first, I would like to thank you for your work in food as medicine and linking it with the soul and healing work for the soul through food as medicine and the body, mind, and spirit connections. So thank you for that, Diana, for your good work. And yes, it's an interesting story, of my own soul and the soul's work that I've been drawn to. And in my personal journey, the first thing that I always look for is for the wellness. And I look for the spirit of what is well. And I think that what is needed or what is necessary at this time is that we are noticing not only what is seen, but also what it is that we don't see, what it is that animates our body, our spirit. And in my own journey, I had a teacher when I was young and that noticed that I had this ability to see things that other people didn't seem to be able to see. And he thought that it was a gift and asked if I would like some training in order to develop and to deepen those gifts. And so I began my training at a very young age, at about the age of 14. And I had some experiences with some wonderful spirits and ancestors that really helped me and continue to guide me. And we all have that. You know, we all have that available to us. We all have our wisdom voice or the voice of spirit, the voice of creation that is speaking to us. And because we're all creators, we have this immense capacity to create or to destroy. And what I have really noticed is that we need to start being mentors. We really need to start mentoring ourselves first. We need to start mentoring our own minds.
Wow. Exactly.
Our minds are out of control.
Do you feel that, based on what you just said about creation and destruction, do you think that we're going down the path of creating more toxic thoughts, more toxic minds, just with the rise of mental illness and just the changes in society? Do you feel like there has been some change to our mental pattern?
Well, I believe that in every day and in every moment, we have the opportunity to choose.
Mm-hmm.
And at this time, what we're seeing is we're seeing some interesting choices because of what we're putting into our minds. And what we're putting into our minds is uh, a lot of screen time. A lot of people get a lot of screen time. So computers and television, and mostly computers, but the television is on the computer now. So that's very convenient. And,
I know, it's all in one now. We're sucked
yeah,
in.
there you have it. And, but what is so is that things like this summit
Mm-hmm.
happen
Mm-hmm.
through screen time. There are very inspiring songs and videos and visionary gifts that people are bringing through the computers through screen time. And so, the computer is really a visionary tool. And the television is really a tool of the visionary. And so we have this opportunity at this time to use these things for the encouragement and the patterning, the repatterning of the mind, the repatterning of how we're thinking about things. What is so, I really enjoyed, I heard Brian Schwimm, who's wonderful. He's a cosmologist and theologian, he's a scientist. And is so gifted and talented, and he was speaking to how we have a 3% chance, and that's pretty good.
Oh my.
you know?
Ah,
But what I know from I've traveled, had the honor of traveling and of serving in this wonderful world, and traveling to Mexico and to Maya. And you've gone to the
yes, I
Mexico
have.
with
Yes.
with our group, and it's so amazing. That was the most wonderful trip. And
Mm-hmm.
but wherever I've traveled, Japan or anywhere in the world that I've traveled, the most important thing that I hear is I continue to hear the same prophecies. And every culture, every tradition, every religion has these prophecies. And the prophecies in every culture, including tradition, the Christian tradition, speak to, we really need to pray.
Mm-hmm.
And the most important thing that we can do at this time is to develop our spirituality and our awareness.
Yes.
And so this is the real work of this time. And I believe that, there's this really wonderful book that I love. And it's called The Magic of the Ordinary. And it's by a man named Gershon Winkler. And he's quoting this man, Rabbi Nashman. And he's talking about, our nature is to incline toward being depressive and sullen. Due to afflictions that befall us. And he says, therefore, you need to move yourself with great effort toward becoming joyful always. You
Sure.
know,
Why does it take so much effort? Isn't that amazing? I mean, that we have to work at being happy. I remember you saying some time ago in a class that at some point in your life, you made the decision that you were going to be happy. So, do we have to decide to be happy? And why does it feel like we have to swim upstream when we make that decision?
well, because what we're surrounded by. We used to be surrounded by nature. We used to be surrounded by, if we look around right now, it is springtime. It's the time of illumination. Everything is illuminated. It's the time of new beginnings. It's also a time where whatever needs healing is emerging and coming out, and healing options are emerging. And, there's a robin in my tree outside right now, but we are not in contact with nature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we are in contact with sharp edges, and nature has no right angles.
Yes.
Nature has forms and ways of being that are unstructured, and we don't give ourselves that anymore.
Hmm.
We don't have anything that is unstructured, and we are in buildings that are not like the buildings that really give us peace and serenity. And the buildings that give us peace are, a dome of a cathedral of cedar trees outside. That is the shelter. That is in the Northwest. That is how we live is under these beautiful cedars or in a cave where it's round and everything is organic. And we are a part of the earth. And if we're separated from her, we lose contact with our own nature and with who we really are. And she is our medicine. She is our medicine. The earth is our medicine. And so we need to stay in contact with that if we're going to be able to detoxify, if we're going to be able to let go of our own separation from ourselves. We'll be able to come into a deep contact if we make contact with the outdoors that are really indoors. Right?
Yes, right. The microcosm is the macrocosm and vice versa, right? So if we're polluting our planet, we pollute ourselves.
Well, and what we're doing is we're polluting our thoughts with a lot of second guessing and a lot of lack of courage, weakness of thought, the inability to really say what we think, to stand behind what we really value and what has emotional importance for us. And, as we get weaker and weaker and weaker in our ability to be who we really are, the earth gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And so, we're a part of her. And, in the Mayan traditions, I really appreciate what I've learned there. And having some Mexican in my own ancestry, it's of great value to me. They really speak to how, what is inside of me is exactly what is going to happen outside of me. So if I work on myself and if I am able to create a peaceful world within, a peaceful cosmology within myself, a peaceful universe within myself, then the world will be peaceful.
Makes sense.
And the only being that I know that can really teach that to us is the being of nature.
Char, how do we start? How do we start to redefine and recalibrate our relationship with nature? What does it take? Is it as simple as noticing that there's a robin outside in the tree?
That's a good start.
Yeah. Well, that occurred to me as you said that, the perception, even having windows, having some contact with our outside world. Just what are some simple ways that people can get a jump start on being in nature? I mean, what if they live in a city and they don't live in the Pacific Northwest like we do, which is gorgeous? Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. So how do they connect?
It's very simple. I'm looking outside right now, and there's a big sky above me. And if I go outside, it is guaranteed that some wind or air is going to contact me. I'm going to come in contact with the wind. And, the wind cross-culturally in all cultures is a symbol for spirit. Okay. And so in many poems through the centuries, you hear, and the wind spoke to me, or it came on the wind, or I heard it on the wind. Okay. And so one of the things that we can do is just simply make contact with the elements and recognize that there is a sky above us. And something that I really love is the knowledge that the water, whatever is in the water, is everywhere. And so we can begin by simply thanking the water. Saying thank you to the water, or my friend Araceli Dominguez. We watch the spirit of the water with her. And we thank the spirit of the water. And the Northwest Coast, my wonderful twin, Raven speaker, in the tradition of the Northwest Coast people, there is a sound that you make to thank the water, and a hand motion that you make, and so you go, oh, and it is a thank you, a gratitude, it's an acknowledgement. And so when we take a shower, when we drink a glass of water, when we make a cup of tea, we have the opportunity to say thank you.
That's beautiful.
And it starts to manage, and it starts to mentor our own focus. Where's my mind gone? Where's my mind going? Where's my focus? Because that's where my power is.
Yes.
That's where my power is. And so I want to keep that power close to me. And I want to be able to manage myself and manage my thoughts and manage my relationships and give myself some constructive feedback. I think a big part, an answer to your question, Dana, is that we don't manage ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not giving ourselves constructive feedback. I think that we give ourselves a lot more leeway
Mm-hmm.
around things. We need to make some huge changes, really big changes in our lifestyles. And nature is telling us, she is telling us, the earth is telling us.
Yes.
She's letting us know, things aren't okay here. If you keep doing this, it's probably not going to work out in your benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, one of the things I really respect about Native American spirituality is the implementation of ritual, which, as you just mentioned, is a way that we can manage our energy. Are there other rituals? So you mentioned giving thanks to the water element. Are there other rituals that might be easy for everybody in some way on an everyday basis to slip into their routine? And I know that maybe we can talk also about sweat lodges and what those are like and doing those and how cleansing they can be, but maybe just the smaller things too.
Well, what is so powerful, I'm so grateful that you mentioned this, because one of the things that I've noticed, Diana, is that I have seen a very wonderful and empowering purification ritual. Not only in the Native American traditions do they have the sweat, but we also experienced a Temazcal in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And the Russian people have a very powerful sweat that they do that is a sauna that's very hot, very, very hot.
Very hot, huh?
Yes, very hot. And they work with the oak tree. They work with
Mm.
oak branches and work with the tannins from the oak branches. And I've also seen them work with the pine needles. And so every continent has a way to sweat and to purify. Every tradition and every culture has that. And it's so important that we are able to purify ourselves and to purify our thoughts and be able to really honor that this is something that happens in every culture and in every tradition. And it's wonderful, and it is available to us. And this is something that you can work into a week.
Mm-hmm.
I know that in Seattle, I know that there are 2 Russian saunas. And to the Russians, the sauna, this is what I understand from them, is that the sauna is so sacred to them and so precious to them that it's the place where they bring their dead. They bring their dead to the water element. They bring their dead to the place of purification. So powerful, one of the major rituals. And so, we can purify ourselves in a number of different ways, but it is very important to let go.
Yes. Yeah.
We need to let go of everyone else's business,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of our to-do list, which is 20,000, miles
Never
long.
ending.
Right, right, right. I love what Angeles Arian says. She's one of my mentors, who I respect her so much, and she says that if the to-do list is longer than 6 things, it is not authentic. It is about dutifulness, and it is not about authenticity. And so we keep our to-do list to less than 6 things. But what I suggest is a morning meditation where you get to know yourself. And the first thing that we can do is we can run outside. We can go outside. We can go outdoors and say thank you for the day. And we can greet the rising sun, the morning sun. We can sing. We can say a prayer.
Shar, you had mentioned one time when I was studying with you, and I'm sure that you have mentioned this in your subsequent classes, that when we stop singing and telling stories, that we've lost our connection with life.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
We've lost our connection with the animating source of our body. We've lost connection with the soul. We've lost connection with the spirit. This is something that we must reclaim. And so, I talk about revitalizing the animating spirit, the life force, that the animating principle that makes our body move.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Our spirit, and so to cultivate and to regenerate and to revitalize the spirit, we need contact in nature. In order to contact our own nature, we need to remember the ceremonies and the rituals of our ancestors. We need to purify in the lodges. We need to, baptism is its own form, of connecting with the divine, connecting with the great source, belonging, a sense of belonging, a source of belonging to the great mystery, to the creator, to the great and beautiful. Unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, those rituals are of the essence. And so to be I'm really talking about water a lot today. It's interesting.
Yes.
Water element here.
Mm-hmm. Well, very healing and very purifying.
Yeah.
And also very concerning just from the point of looking at the planetary supply of water and what's happening to it, right? With all the toxins, the radiation, the metals, the garbage that we're getting in the water.
Oh, it's really something.
Yes.
It is really something. And so I suggest befriending life and befriending water. I would not throw garbage on my friend if I were having lunch.
That's right.
With my friend, I would not toss. It's really interesting too, Diana, because I don't know if you remember this from the course, but one of the things that I have people do is I have them collect all of their garbage for a week. You remember that?
Yes, I do. I had a salamander in my garbage.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
He
Oh my
snuck
goodness.
in there.
Oh, that's so wonderful. What a blessing. You got a blessing in your garbage, It's so great. But yeah, we don't throw garbage on the people and the things that we love. We don't get a new sofa and then it's just, so we need to befriend these things or treasure these things or appreciate these things. And so one of the things that I have people do is for a week, we gather our garbage. And if you cannot recycle it and if you cannot reuse it, then it goes in bed with us. It goes in our bed. And for a week, we sleep with our garbage. And that is what the water is doing. And that is what the earth is doing. But it brings us to a new level of consciousness about what we're doing globally and the real issues at hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, the real issues at hand. And it's a way, Diana, we can course correct ourselves. We really can course correct ourselves if we have access to a wisdom voice. But we have to have access to our own wisdom. And every culture has wisdom keepers and elders and people who have so much experience and really bringing all of these wonderful wisdom keepers together, And as the Hopi prophecy is so clear and it's wonderful. It's Dan Brown in the minutes, some of the Hopi minutes of from the elders. It talks about how Creator was creating all of the people, and then told he said, I'm going to turn a whole group of you black, and you're going to go and you're going to learn everything that there is to learn about the water. And then, I'm going to turn a whole group of you white, and you're going to go and you're going to learn everything that there is to learn about the fire. And then one group of you, I'm going to turn yellow, and you're going to go and learn everything there is to learn about the air. And then I'm going to turn another group of you red, and you will go and you will learn everything there is to learn about the earth. And there will be a day when you must come together and teach one another everything that you've learned. And that is the day there will be peace on earth. And that is the day that I think we are looking forward to.
Yes, and I'm hoping we get there
Mm.
sometime soon.
Well, there's a lot of forgiveness work to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of forgiveness work to do. We need to forgive ourselves. We need to forgive our ancestors. We need to have the courage to apologize to one another. I am German and I am a Apache and Mexican and English. And I'm really grateful to be all of those things. I'm Black Irish.
Mm.
And I was adopted by my Lakota mama, who is wonderful. Barbara means Adams. And so, I have all these treasures within me. And so, we can also have apologies within ourselves. But I can say, I apologize. The European part of me apologizes to the Native American part of me, or the Mexican part of me, or, the whole me apologizes to, my ancestors behind me line up and apologize to an African American person who, has been through their family and their ancestral line has been through so much, and many of them through horrors and terrors. And we can apologize in the present to course correct the past. As best we can. It's not about, we're not asking for anything, we're giving something and just saying, we acknowledge this was not okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was horrible, and we deeply apologize. And so it's the forgiveness work and the courage, really, to be seen like that, and to really humble ourselves before what our ancestors have done, and to do something different now.
Yeah, it's not easy for many people to come into that state of forgiveness. Perhaps it's even becoming aware that one even needs to forgive. And we look at what is the number one killer in the Western world? It's heart disease, right? All of that clenched.
My heart is attacking me.
Yes, and holding all of that in that space, the beautiful heart becomes hardened. And so I'm so glad that you mentioned forgiveness as a healing salve, because it seems it could benefit so many, not just us, but the other person that's receiving the apology. There's even scientific studies on it.
Oh, how wonderful. I'm so grateful that science is discovering all these things that,
That have been known, right? And that it's finally catching up.
Yeah, it's so great. And that we're all on the same page now.
Yes,
I
I
love being on
know.
the same page. It's so great. And how singing strengthens the immune system. And,
Yep.
so all these things are being discovered now, which is great. And, we made a recording. I made a recording with my Lakota mom, and it was, everyone has a song, because, there's a belief that everyone has a song, that we all have a song where there's power in that song. And no matter what tradition we're from, there's songs, no matter what continent. And we can tap into that as a resource, as a healing resource. But we can pray and we can meditate and reflect. We need to reflect. The issue is we're not reflecting. We don't have any time to manage ourselves or our resources of our own energy or of our own spirit. And we have to have some limits and boundaries.
We do. I completely agree. And it's almost like having those rituals helps us to pause. It punctuates our day.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember even working with you using things like white sage to purify a space. It was almost a very ritualistic it was a ceremony. You sage if somebody new comes into the house, you sage your space. You sage before you go to bed, or if there's some other, reason to sage, that it's used as a time to pause and to get centered.
I remember what Barbara told me, my mama, she's crossed now, so I honor her. She always taught me that was about recollecting ourselves. And so sage is really about recollecting ourselves. And so if we want to recollect who we are, then we would work with sage. This is interesting. I'm really grateful that you brought this up, because there are many plant spirits that want to help us to pause and to reflect, and so it's important that we're able to access the spirit of those plants. And oftentimes they are around us and they're alive, and we could actually just go sit and listen and reflect with them. But trees are, cross-culturally, they are a symbol for abundance. They are a symbol for abundance and for richness in the world. So it's interesting to think about. And so if we want to go and fill and refuel, we would go to this symbiotic being, this relationship that we have with this other being, the trees. And it's interesting that we're not aware. We don't talk about, oh, well, of course, I can't live without them. They can't live without. Yeah.
What about animals? What about all the animals in our environment? So plants, absolutely. And I even see that in nutrition, the importance of eating plants, right? And having that as part of what we take in. So what about our relationship with animals?
This is exciting.
Yes.
This is exciting. I want to go back for just a second
please.
Because also there is no culture that does not use smoke for purification and to sacralize, to make sacred. And so this is something that I've really noticed in my own background and also in my travels, is that there's incense. You know, you can go into a Catholic church and really have a good time with a lot of incense and
frankincense, myrrh.
Yes, it's
right?
great.
Yeah.
And, you know, and with my Mayan friends and extended family there, it's the Palo Santo, you know, and the copal.
Yes,
in
I
the
remember that.
poposhkome, yes, in the poposhkome, and in Japan, it's the most delicate, beautiful incenses that are really, they're so fragrant and delicate and really, you know that you're in the presence of something divine. You know. And the animals, I'm so grateful you asked about that. And, you know, Carl Jung talks about this in his work, and he relates it to, in Man and His Symbols, he talks about how it is, in Africa, it is called the bush soul. And everyone has a bush soul. There's no one who doesn't have a bush soul. And your bush soul is your animal. Your animal is a guide and a guardian, a helper, and you can literally transform and transmute into this animal. And the animals are seen as messengers. And of course, in the indigenous ways, the animals are seen as helpers and as guides and as guardians. And we, you know, we really learn their language. We can learn their language, and we can learn how to be better people from the animals, because they all have their own groups and their own people. You know, so there's your bird people, and there's your snake people, and there's all of the different people that are here on the earth. And I love some of the stories that Raven Speaker tells, because he often talks, and Vi Hilbert, my great grandma, used to tell also about how, well, when animals could talk. You know, but what is so is that they still do. And there's also a really wonderful deck of cards, a Gaelic deck of tarot cards, where they have the different animals, and the cards are in Gaelic, and they are just beautiful in the Celtic tradition. And so, you know, all traditions have this deep honoring and respect of the fact that we are animals, and that we're living with other animals, and that we are to befriend those animals. In the Shinto tradition, of course, they have, there's little animals that are carved. I believe it's the Shinto tradition. And they, you know, you carry around your little carved animal that is a reminder of who you are, and that you're protected and that you're safe. And so to be in contact with these messengers, with these other beings, these relationships that we were born into, and to not honor these relationships and tend to these relationships with the animals and with the trees and the different plants and the elements, we do so to our own great detriment.
Yeah. So, Shar, what I'm taking away from all of this, some of the key words, and you just mentioned them, we started out talking about nature, about really connecting back with nature, and we're losing sight of that. You also mentioned connecting with our ancestors and going back into the past and expressing forgiveness. There's also an honoring of elements and thanking the elements, the trees you've mentioned many times. I love that because we live in the land of trees here, so I can look outside and see about 20 of them, which is a gift, right?
That's so great.
and the animals, so many of these aspects to our daily lives and how we've really lost sight. So what would be your three takeaways? Those are my takeaways of really, what can we do? What are the actionables? How can we make life more sacred and less toxic?
Oh, that's great.
So what would be your three takeaways for everybody as we close the interview? What would you want them to remember? What would you want them, if you had to give them homework and you knew that everybody would, and I'm used to you giving homework, so I'm asking for some homework for all of us.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. Well, I would suggest taking a couple of questions about your life and the state of your life and really holding them in your heart and then letting them go and stepping out the door and taking a walk and letting spirit really speak to you through nature. Letting nature speak to you about what are some creative solutions here? What is it that I can really do? And so making contact, really beginning a relationship. The next thing I would say is generosity. Generosity of spirit, and by generosity I mean we need to be thankful for what we've been given. When we start taking things for granted, we start losing things that are very, very important to us. And so the next wisdom would be really come into a state of gratitude and reciprocity. And I would say begin to mentor yourself. Give yourself creative feedback. Give yourself feedback that is corrective feedback. Don't let myself go off the deep end about how I'm going to,
Yeah.
cross my own limits and boundaries and abandon myself and not keep to my commitments. And, that I'm going to be there and I'm going to keep my treaties, my personal treaties. I'm going to keep the commitments that I've made, and I'm going to give myself corrective feedback kindly if I need it. And the most important thing, Diana, is to extend kindness and a great love toward ourselves. Because if we can do that, if we can extend kindness and love toward ourselves, it will emanate and it will change everything.
So beautifully said. I have goosebumps. So many pearls here that we can all, even if there's one to take away and really focus on that, it could really be life-changing. I could see the ripple effect. And one last thing, how can people find you? You have a website, sundustoracleinstitute.com.
Yes, that is wonderful. And I also have a podcast that I do monthly. And that is on Medicine Media. And and you're welcome to hear it. And you can hear it as a gift for free, or you can make a donation. It's up to you. Yeah,
Wonderful.
So it's available for everyone, anyone who wants to hear it.
Fantastic. Char, thank you so very, very much for being part of this Detox Summit with all kinds of different experts. And, your knowledge and what you have brought forth has been really instrumental for all of us.
Oh, Diana, thank you. And may I do a closing prayer?
Yes, please.
Yes. I would be so honored and grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a blessing. Creator, Creatrix, Mother, Father, God, all that is not. Kali, Amachi, Parvati, Ganesha, Kuan Yin, Kuan Kung, Christ, Ave Maria, Nagakanya, Power Animals and Allies, Mohammed, Buddha, Allah, Okami, Hanabku, Hanalye, Yum. Please bless this beautiful work. May it go into the world and create vitality and good medicine. May it make good medicine for all of our relatives. May we remember that we're related to all beings, and bless those who are creating this foundation for those who are yet unborn, so that they can have a world that is good and true and beautiful and lasting. Bless this wisdom. Aho. Amen.